Hey guys, Lockie from Outback Tour with a quick run through of our 1550/1250Z rooftop tent. So this is the biggest, the most amount of room, most premium tent we do have. So if you're after heaps of room, bit of versatility, this will be the tent for you. We'll get stuck into what's included with the tent. If you go the 1550 tent, you'll have the 230 watt Roam Gear panel. If you get the 1250Z tent, you'll have the 200 watt Roam Gear solar panel. You'll have the solar panel brackets, or your spring steel rods for our rain flies, your roof rack brackets. You'll also have this cable clips, wide step ladder. You'll have a ladder bag for your ladder, and then all the bolts and nuts and everything associated with it. While we've got it closed, I just wanted to run through the arrangement of how we've got our solar panel already installed. I will actually uninstall this to show you how we got to this arrangement, but while it's here, we may as well run through it. We have put the solar panel up the front of the tent. This is just personal preference, because if you use the tent in the half folded position, most of our tents, they all have the panel at the front, so we just wanted to keep it congruent. Personally like the look of it like that. It doesn't matter, you can actually put the solar panel in the middle, you can put it at the back, it's all on a slide channel, and then you can actually put a roof rack on either side of the solar panel, and then you can run your surfboards or paddle boards, whatnot, over the top. Because if you have a look at this, these brackets actually make the roof rack sit higher, so you will actually clear that solar panel with the low mount brackets like that. This cable here, this cable will actually be all wound up in a bit of a ball inside the tent with your fitting kit with the clips here. So I'll show you, you'll have your little bag of clips like this with your some nylox and some M8 bolts. And what we want to do, you just want to be wary. This solar panel cable here, it's running a Z formation. And what we've done, you just have to think ahead, because we're running the cable down in the Z formation. So you do have to slide these channel nuts in. Let's grab one and show you. For your roof racks, your solar panel and everything like that, the way the tents work, there's a track that runs the whole way down. Then you put these little square nuts in. So square nuts go in for the solar panel brackets and the roof rack brackets, and then these M8 nylock and just your M8 bolts go in for the cable clamps here. What I'm trying to get at is, if you get excited and install the solar panel brackets first, then you won't be able to actually get these M8s in. So you just have to have a bit of a think ahead. I'll run the camera down the side of the tent and just see and make sure you've got enough clamps in here for your cable. So in this situation, I've already put my 2 M8 bolts in, and then I've put my solar panel in. Very important, we don't touch this gas strut. You don't want to be loosening this, and you're going to lose the position if you ever undo those. So make sure we're only ever sliding in on either side of that gas strut. So if we run this camera down the side, you'll see the formation. We will open this as well and show you of how we've actually done this cable. It'll make more sense once it's opened up. It sort of comes back around and loops on itself. And then on the top here, I've faced the clips facing up, therefore it's going to go over the strut nicely. If we had have actually faced that down, it'll end up not so parallel and nice. So that's probably enough on that. Once I open it, we'll go over that again, because that is one of the most important things. You just want to make sure this cable's all nice and secured and everything's all looking Mickey Mouse. This is what I was talking about before with the solar cable. Might be a bit easier to see now. What I was saying is we put it in the Z formation. So you start it up here, run it down, and then it actually just loops around the back here. To be fair, if you did have the solar panel at the back here, you wouldn't have to do the whole Z formation, but just personal preference, we like it at the front. It doesn't actually matter. You can put it at the back, and then you run it the whole way down. What that means is you don't have to, you see other brands, they'll have this Z sort of tent, they don't give you any cable. So if you put a solar panel on the front, you'll see everyone's just got like a coil of cable. Every time they set their tent up, they actually have to disconnect their cable every time. We've made it in a way that you can leave it on there all the time. You don't have to worry about disconnecting your solar panel every time, and you'll forget about it, and the fridges will die and the beer will be warm. Alright, so we've got both these enormous rain flies set up. Much like the back rain fly, this one actually can zip off, and then if you just want to have like one rain fly at the back, one at the front, You know, you can zip them off and do whatever variation you want. That's the cool thing about this tent in particular. There's about 4 different ways you can actually use it. These ones here, if you've got a wagon or whatever, you'd probably get these ones from the ground, and then these ones, these front ones, you can actually just get them from inside the tent. The rainfly covers these windows here, which is pretty cool. Much to everyone's confusion online, these do actually close. We've got a door on the inside, which completely zips up, so you don't get absolutely effing drenched when it's raining, because we've got a canvas in here. So maybe it's a bit tricky on the photos, but that definitely does zip up. I can assure you that, because that would not be a good time if that was open. So rest assured, it zips up. Alrighty, so we can go ahead and open this tent up now. You'll notice we've got some oval center latches on the back here, which is a nice adjustable latch. So if you ever need a bit more tension out of them, you can tighten them a bit. We've got side latches as well at the bottom. I've already gone ahead and opened those. So undo that like so. We've got our nice stainless steel handles like this, which look really neat. And then this section of the tent comes up like that. We've got a bungee cord that I normally just put in this track here. So as we fold it down, that just helps keep that rainfly nice and secure. And from there, these will most likely be inside the tent. These are your spring steel rods, which will come in a nice cover. We have 8 of these. So these are all the exact same length, and all we're going to do is go fully around this side and put them in. It's always easier to put the bottom in first as opposed to the top. That way you know it's all locked in. I'll show you on this front one here what I mean. And then it all springs up nicely and goes in the eyelet. You put the bottom in first. There is actually 2 holes that this needs to go into, like that. You're finding it like a little bit tricky to get it in. There might just be a little bit of powder coat on the end there, because they are powder coated pretty thick, so they last a while. You might just have to, you can see this one here has been used a fair bit. Or if you're struggling to get it in, you could always shave it down a bit. But better to have a bit more on there than not at all. So that goes in like that. And then there's our last one there. So the really cool thing about this tent is you can actually use the tent on the half clamshell position. I know that when we do big trips up north and we're spending a lot of time on the road, you don't always want to set the tent up to its entirety. You've got 12-hour days under your belt. You just want to get to bed. You don't want to be mucking around with the front. You just set the tent up like this, and you can get to sleep and get back on the road quick. To make it even easier again, you can actually zip these rain flies off. So you can have this entire tent literally just a clamshell that opens. You don't have to do any spring rods, and that's the easiest version you could use of the tent. You can still make use of all your solar panel pointed at the sun with your roof racks up there like that. I'll whip around to the front now, and we'll open this front section. So, like the back, it's just 2 over center latches. These ones actually have a bit of an offset on them. That's how you can distinguish between the front and the back when the tent first comes out of the box. Instead of opening it, you can actually see there's a bit of a offset on these latches. So what we would normally do is do these off our side steps, and then if you've got like a wagon or whatnot, you don't have a roof platform to stand on, you actually just jump inside the tent and push it up from the inside. So you don't have to be on the outside to try and get it. You can just do it from inside the tent, and then it will come up nicely like that. And then much like the back, we just pop that little the elastic in like that. And then I'll get all these poles up and we'll chat a bit more about this section of the tent. So on the side of our tents, all the tents, we run the extrusion system, and that is great because it means all our accessories like gas struts, ladders, ladder latches, and roof rack brackets, solar brackets, everything can be just modular and move around. So if you ever wreck a strut or you need it to be re-gassed or anything like that, they're all Stabilis struts, they can all be re-gassed. They do have 650 newtons in them, which is a fair bit to lift this entire mechanism, so pretty sturdy. Another one that seems to be a concern for people is like how strong are these things in the wind with the struts. Like you will get some movement, but like I'm really reefing on that, and it's pretty bloody secure. Like we've had these up in a lot of wind and it's never been an issue. If it was an issue and you're thinking, oh God, like is it gonna break or whatever, like I promise you it won't. but just for peace of mind, you could just run it in the half position, and that'd, you know, you'd sleep peacefully at night. You're not worried about your tent or anything. But like I said before, we've had these in a lot of wind and never been an issue. I've never had one ever break. The struts are 650 newtons, so there's a fair bit of pressure there holding this whole thing together. All the tents, like the other models, they're all on the sail track system with a zip out canvas. This one's actually two parts, so you've got one whole canvas insert here and one here. So if you ever were to wreck a screen, like you're spending a lot of money on a rooftop tent, you just want to know that if I ever break anything or a zipper gets stuck or you put your ladder through the screen or anything crazy like that, you can actually replace every part of this tent. We've got canvas kits in stock. We can order them in. No matter where you are in the country, you can pretty well replace anything on this tent with a Allen key and a 13mm spanner. It's all modular, which is very important. All your wearable items like your pole receivers over time, like if they ever get bent or whatever, we could just post them out. We've got heaps of spares, and it's good to have peace of mind that you're putting the money into something like this, you're gonna have support and everything can be replaced and changed. And we've got the know-how and the knowledge, like we know how these tents work, and we'd be able to support you for many years to come. With that said, we'll jump inside and have a look at everything in here. All right, so as you can see here, I'm a fully grown dude and there is a lot of room here. So there is so much room for activities. Not those activities, get your mind out the gutter. Let's get back to the tent. So inside, we've got two LED lights, which is pretty cool. We've got one over here, one over here. They are dimmable. I've actually just got them on a power bank at the moment. There is power in the tent, which we'll talk about in a sec, but this is just the easiest way to display it in the showroom. If you haven't actually wired your tent up yet, you could just use power banks in the meantime. They're all dimmable and the cable's long enough to reach back to your power board over there. We've got internal pockets for days, so all your water bottles, keys, and everything like that can be stored over here. We've got our iPad pocket up top, which is cool. You can kick back and watch the footy or whatever you want to do. A couple more pockets up here. You'd be amazed how many of these you actually fill. Obviously more up here. Put this on a bit of an elastic, which is cool. So in the cooler months, you've got your jackets and whatnot. You want to get them out of the tent and not everywhere. You know, you got pets in here or whatever. You need a bit more space. You can just throw your jackets and stuff up there, which is good. We've got a nice 75mm high density foam mattress, so it's very comfy. If you want to do a topper, there is enough room in here to do that. Underneath, we've got our condensation mat. See if we can pull that back and have a bit of a look. So condensation mat underneath. That comes with all our tents standard. It's not an extra. That's very important because with people laying in here, you do get heat transfer through the mattress, and we've got an aluminium base, so all our tents are completely sealed with aluminium base. You want to make sure you've got a condensation mat underneath. That has nothing to do with condensation in here, that's all to do with breathing. If you need more info on that, let us know. But we just need to stop the heat transfer through the mattress to the base, and having that layer in between, that air layer is what stops that. So like I said, all comes standard, ready to rock. If you want to put fans in here, we've got a 20mm honeycomb roof, so you can actually get like those Sirocco plates and you can bolt them to the roof. Being a 20mm roof, you can use a 15mm button head screw. I personally have never screwed into the roof of my tent. I've just got some little like pedestal fans, and I'll either hang them off one of these pockets here or stick them in the corner and plug them in. If you need to know the exact screws we recommend for screwing into here, just flick us an email. I'll send you like the Bunnings link to make sure you got the right ones, and we've done all the testing to make sure you're never going to come out the other side, so it should be sweet. Like I was saying before, this window does actually shut, so if you ever get caught out in the rain, you just put that up and you won't get any water through. All the zips have canvas over them, so you won't get any water going through the teeth or anything like that. Having these big rain flies, honestly, it's like an extra couple of minutes to put these spring rods in, but if you're going to get this tent, you've already said, all right, I want the most amount of room, the biggest tent we've got. So taking the time and putting those rods in is really good, because if you do get stuck in the rain, it just means you can have all these doors all the way down. You can do this top corner like that, so you get a bit of airflow because that's covered by that rain fly, which is really nice. When you pull this tent down, which I'm going to demonstrate it from the outside just because it's easier and we're on the showroom floor, But on our personal 79 series, we'll get all these spring rods out from inside the tent. You can kind of just lean out and you can actually pull the tent down. We've got a handle in here. That way you don't have to try and, like, you don't want to be pulling a tent down from one corner. It needs to be pulled down central. So you kind of just position yourself here and you can just, you know, underarm it and pull it down and then make sure all that canvas tucks in on the way. And that just means you don't have to try and, you know, crawl around on the ground to get it. You can pack it all up from inside. In the corner here, we've got our USB ports and cigarette sockets. So you can run your fans. You've got a little on-off switch. There is actually a fuse under here too, so you know you should always fuse everything. So if you're ever wondering why you don't have power, you can always check that fuse under there. This is all hard wired into an Anderson plug underneath the tent, which is just here. So with that Anderson plug underneath, that's already pre-wired in there, so you don't need to go and drill any holes through the base. We like to do that for everyone because it just means that you don't have to drill your brand new tent. We've done all the testing and made sure we can go through there. It's all grommeted and ready to rock. That's pre-installed. So from here, you need to run a cable. You just need to think of this as like plugging a fridge in or another appliance. You just need to run a cable from this Anderson plug down to your power source. Good practice for electrical, like car stuff like this, is at your power source, you just put a 10 amp inline fuse. We've already got a 10 amp fuse underneath, like I said before, under this power box, but it's a good idea and good practice just to fuse it down at the battery as well. That way, if you ever get a fault, you can locate it pretty quick. And then if, you know, troubleshooting, then you could always check that fuse. So if your solar panel cable, we need to run that completely separate to this. So this is literally just the power source from your battery to underneath, and that powers that. Your solar panel and solar panel cable, that'll run independently down to your battery. That needs to either go through a DC-DC charger or your like solar controller, because that solar panel is unregulated and we need to turn 23 volts, say, into 12 volts, so it needs to go through that regulator. So it's completely independent. Solar panel charges the battery, and then from the battery we have an outlet which powers the power box. If that's another language to you, it's all good. It was to me a couple of years ago. Just go to your local auto electrician and they'll be able to sort you out. Alrighty, we'll run through how to attach the awning to this tent. So another really good feature about this tent is we've got a nice reinforced strong base here. These are an extrusion bracket. If you buy our Outback Tour awning, if you previously bought one, just let us know, but if you bundle it together, we'll include 3 of these awning brackets, and this is designed to attach the awning to the tent. The way that works is those same nylock nuts we used before, and the nylock, nuts and bolts, you'll slide them into these channels, and we just want to bolt one bracket right at the back, and then we'll put the next one against this Outback Tourer logo. Now, if you have a side latch, you're not going to be able to use this side latch with this bracket because it's going to hit the bracket. So I've already taken this side latch off. You don't need, like, for 2 years we only had the back latches, but everyone was sort of pushing the limits on how much bedding they could put in, so we just thought we'd put an extra couple of side latches, but not totally necessary. We still run the 2 on our own car. To grab that, take that one off, and then put that bracket right up against that Outback Tourer logo there, because all the span, all the cantilever weight of the awning is actually from this back corner of the tent, so we want the most amount of support here. And from there, we just sort of put this bracket, there's no real measurement, but sort of just past these slots here like that, and that's for that front one. Now, if you don't have our awning, you can purchase these separately. That's no stress at all. They're not on our website because we've got heaps of different tents and heaps of different brackets, so we just want to make sure everyone gets the right one. So you just hit us up and say, hey, I need some awning brackets sorted in the video. Just let us know what awning you have. These are elongated holes, so most awnings will fit, but if you just want to make sure, saves you returning them, just send us the measurements of your spacings and we'll put them up against ours and make sure your awning will fit. With attaching the awning to the side, so say you've attached your awning to the side and you're wondering how to get this pole in, you're obviously not going to get it in. So what we've done, we've included 3 of these offset poles like this. So what this does it actually replaces these side poles like so. And it was just a simple little thing we thought of a few years ago, but pretty bloody effective. All that does is you've got your awning up against here, that pole now goes over the top of the awning. And we include 3 of these because you'll need one here where the awning is, so when it's closed. This tent here has a rainfly at the front, so you'll be using another offset pole here. And then when the awning wraps around the back of the car, you'll need one here. The awning tapers off a bit because obviously awnings need fall. So as the awning comes through, generally it won't actually hit this pole at all. So you don't need one here. If it was a little bit touch and go, you could just move that one up to here, and that'll work sweet. So 3 of those poles, that's what they're for. If you're struggling to get them in, you might just need to, we haven't had to do this for a while, but this is generally bent at 90 degrees, so you could actually get a bit more of a bend on it to try and get it around the awning a bit better. But they're pretty good from factory. Early days these used to be a little bit longer, so we shortened them up, so that should all fit in there nicely for you. But if you get stuck, just reach out, but pretty self-explanatory. That's what they're there for. The last thing we'll mention on the external of the tent, you do get 2 shoe bags, which are pretty neat. They've got our logo on them. They're just a simple Velcro jobby. So if you ever go up the ladder, you need somewhere to put your shoes, you throw them in there. They've got our midgie-proof screen on the bottom. Same stuff we use on the doors, very important. We do midgie-proof screens. That just means if you ever put your shoes up there and they're a bit wet, they will drain out overnight. You've got another little couple of storage pockets out here. You do get 2 of them, so they just like clip around the ladder catches like that. So you can just do one on either side or one at the back, which is, we use them all the time, they're pretty handy. And after that, you just store them inside the tent. Packing this up, like I was saying before, you'd probably more than likely do this from inside the tent, but I'm just going to do it from the outside to demonstrate. I'll do it in real time too, because we do get a heap of questions just wondering how long it actually takes to pack this one up. And I think it's pretty bloody quick considering you get double the tent, literally, and heaps of extra room. I think it's well worth it. You want to pack all those away in your nice little bag, keep them in the tent. And then, like all our other tents here, we've got a nice bungee cord. That just helps keep that rainfly tucked away. I personally like to fold them over just so they, don't get all creased. This one's been here for a couple of years now and it still looks bloody awesome. From there, you want to pull down. So obviously we'd be pulling down from the inside, but if you can get it from the outside, you've got a roof rack or whatnot, you don't want to pull it down from the side. It won't break it, but it is just good practice to always pull it down from the center. So from there, it's going to go down, and then you can sort of just, it kind of just packs itself away really, but tuck all that, make sure we're all tucked in everywhere, like that. And that's the main thing, like you just want to sight that seal and make sure we got no canvas between there. It's alright if you're going like campsite to campsite, you've got a bit sticking out and you're going to set it up in a couple of hours at the end of the day. You don't have to spend too much time. But if you are packing it up for a couple of months, you just want to take your time and make sure it's all packed away. I'll move around to the back here and do this side. Good little tip for these offset poles, if you do use them, we normally just sort of sit the corresponding offset pole with where they go. That way when you set it up next time, you don't have to fumble around and try and find which pole goes where. You've just got the offset poles where they go. That's just a little tip we do with our personal tents. So you pack all that up, and much like the front, same sort of deal. The elastic comes up like that, and at this point you'll probably be down on the ladder to get a bit of leverage on it. So we've got this nice long handle like this to be able to pull it down. So you imagine you're up on your ladder, you pull it down, and you can grab your handles. Same sort of deal as the front. You just want to sort of lean over, make sure we've got all that tucked in, all those little zipper pulls and these little window ties. So if you're with someone, you might want to have them on the ground, just sighting it for you to make sure we've got it all tucked in. That side was already pretty good. And then Put our latches on. We'll make sure we get that in. Yep, just like that. They look pretty good. Check that zipper's in. Yep. And that's it. You're pretty well ready to go to the next campsite. The ladder itself, like when you get the tent, it is inside of it, but we give you a bag and we would prefer you store it separate, because by the time you put bedding in there, you're going to start taking up that internal room and you just risk indenting your mattress or the roof if you leave it in there. If you've got it in there by itself in the bag, it'll be all right, but generally you'd want a bit of bedding in here anyway. So the tent itself is 200 mil, so it is still nice and slim. Considering how much room you get in here, we wanted to keep it, we didn't want a big 300 mil, you know, like helipad on people's roofs. We wanted to keep it slim and compact. In saying that, there is a fair bit of room in there for bedding. Generally, you'll get, you know, a couple blankets, sheets. If you have pillows, it's a bit of a trial and error to see if you're going to get them in there. My advice is to put them lengthways in the middle. And now we've got those side latches, you'll be able to, you know, crank them a bit and make sure it's all sealed. It is a bit of trial and error. If you're getting the tent and it is lifting in the center, just consider maybe there's a bit much in there and throw the pillows in the car. But it is a pretty decent sized shell, so you will get a fair bit in there. If you've got any questions on that, let us know. This ladder here, we'll have a bit of a chat about that. So all of our ladders, they've got a extrusion on top of them. Your normal rooftop tent ladder, they just look like this. And then if you ever use one, they're all right when they're straight, but you're generally on your 15-degree pitch up to your tent, feels a lot sturdier. This actually gets pretty sore on your feet. So what we've done, we've gone and put a extrusion on top, and we just sort of tried to match the angle that the ladder comes down to the ground at. So if you ever climb these with barefoot or in thongs, even on these sort of thin steps, it does get a bit sore on the feet. But putting that on there has just allowed a bit more comfort, and it does feel like it's a way more stable ladder because you're not, you know, worried about how much your feet are hurting. You can sort of concentrate, and it's really nice. So the mounting this tent underneath, you'll see that we've got this mounting track. All the dimensions are on the website, but it does add about 20 mil to the tent's height, I suppose. We do recommend always leaving these on here. They are waterproof from factory, and if you do remove them, your latches are going to hit your roof rack and it's not going to work properly. So if you can leave them on there, that'd be sweet. They're all engineered to be there, so we definitely recommend leaving them. If you need or you want to talk about how to mount the tent lower, we've got heaps of other alternatives that'll get the tent lower besides taking them off, so just reach out. In the kit, we've got these little extrusions that are all cut nicely to fit inside the mounting rail here. Your M8 bolt will interlock into here, so it's very important we do use this. From there, we slide it in like that, and you've got 8 of these because we're going to be using 4 clamps and 4 plates here to attach the tent. So you imagine these are your crossbars, your roof rack or something like that you're going to be mounting to on your canopy or wagon. And then what you're going to do is you're going to slide these bolts in, and there's going to be one on either side, and you've got this plate underneath which is a elongated hole, so we've got a bit of adjustment there. If you did need longer ones, we do have them, so just reach out, but this should, you know, get you out of trouble for most applications. From there, we're going to put this underneath, and you just go ahead and tighten this up like that, you know. So obviously that's a bit long, but you get the idea. That would clamp around, and that's what's going to secure your tent. You just tighten enough until this starts to get a little bit of a bend about it, and then, you know, don't go too crazy. Make sure you throw anti-seize on these, because if they do bind up, then you're going to have the grinder out and all sorts of stuff. So definitely we use copper anti-seize, but you can get zinc stuff or a bit of WD-40 or something, just to make sure. Like, it is stainless on stainless. It's pretty well known, but just thought I'd let everyone know that in case no one knew it. The minimum spacing is 850 millimeters apart, so center to center of your racks. Maximum spacing is 1600 millimeters. And the maximum overhang, so say your last mounting point is here, where your tent is supported on, the most amount we can have with the tent overhanging is 500 millimeters unsupported. So if you are going over 500 millimeters, maybe you're going on like from a tub rack to the cab roof, just consider putting like another bar for the tent to support on. You don't necessarily have to mount to it. The tent just needs to be supported, especially when you've got weight up in there. You want to make sure you've got support if you're over that 500 mil. Alrighty everyone, I think that pretty well wraps up our 1550Z tent. If there's anything I missed, just make sure you reach out. I really do appreciate you watching. We put a lot of time into this model specifically. We used all the knowledge that we had from our original clamshells, and obviously we had to mirror it to make the dual pop. I think it's honestly worth the time to set it up. You do get double the amount of room. If you've got a couple of kids or pets you want to take with you. I know we personally took one across the desert recently, and having that extra room, especially when it's hot, that cross breeze, the panoramic view you get, it is really worth it in our opinion, and a really good option. So thanks again.